though. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, by the way, how much is the place down in Colombia? Have you looked? Because I wouldn't mind like I would love to like live like in a foreign country like that and just like retire early.
Yeah, it really depends. I man, yeah, like there's Colombia, and then there's also Paraguay, and man, like Paraguay, like just if you just buy the land, it's like very cheap, and then you can like build on top of that. And I also get the feeling that their like zoning laws are probably a lot more lenient and stuff. Like, I mean, if you compare to Canada, I can tell you for sure. I don't know what the states is like.
Oh yeah, it's gnarly. Like the laws in the States are crazy.
So
Yeah.
probably just like Canada.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
they're bananas.
It's not surprising to me at all that there's a housing crisis in Canada because like obviously the price of buying or building a house has gone up like astronomically, but then outside of that, I'm sure it's probably a little bit different province by province, but like here they don't really make it doable for people to even like subdivide land. So like for example, like the land that we're building on is my husband's parents and it's like 23 acres or something like that. So like
Oh wow.
not huge in terms of like farmland because there's people who have farmland that they're looking at like 80 to 100 acres, but big enough that like you could fit many houses on this land. But
That's cool.
we had to do it in such a roundabout way where basically we had to go through this whole big process and get a bunch of permits to build a secondary residence on the same land without having to like officially subdivide the land. And I might
Mm.
have mentioned this to you guys before because for us to subdivide the land, it's this whole huge, crazy, expensive process. Like to give you an idea, if you subdivide the land, you're responsible for putting in a road, like a municipal road for people to drive down. And to
Oh
put in
wow.
a road, I think they said it was like $1,200 per foot of the
Oh
road.
damn.
And it's like it's a really long, narrow piece of land. So we were like doing the math in our head, and that's not including like all the fees you pay to like apply for the permit and just all this shit. So basically, if we had subdivided the land, I think we determined that it would have just basically cost like somewhere between 20 to 30 grand. And that's before you do anything. Like that's not even any work on the land. So then you're doing all the building costs and stuff on top of that. And it's just crazy because you're like, there's literally a housing crisis in this country. People can't afford to buy a home.
Yep.
And a way that people could probably afford to do it is if more houses could go on one piece of land. If the owner of that land is down for it. But it just seems like they make it so hard and inaccessible to do that. So going through this process, I was like, it just blew my mind a little bit. And like I don't know if you guys have ever gone through the experience of dealing with like local government, but there's just so many things along the way that don't make sense. And then you're like, so wait, I just want to understand like why we have to do this, like what's the process here. And it just feels like they're all just reading out of a binder that was made in like the 80s, and they're like, oh yeah, it's just because like that's what we have in this book here. And you're like, that's really
Yeah.
unsatisfying to me.
Yeah. It
Government workers are not like the big thinkers of society. You know,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're just the implementers.
yeah,
Yeah.
the cogs in the wheel, as you might say.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
100%.
would hate I would hate to work at like DMV. That would be like awful. The DMV in
They're the
California is
workers.
so awful.
Oh, jeez.
That's really cool though that you're gonna have a setup though that you could like call home and like build upon and like add to it as you go or whatever. I think that's really smart the way you're doing it.
Yeah, I think so too. I feel like this decision has made me think a lot about how like I don't know what the saying is, but it's like there's a fine line between like genius and insanity. And some
Oh
days
yeah.
I'm like, man, what we're doing is so smart. Everybody should do this. And then the next day I'm like, we're fucking crazy, I think.
Mhm.
But
Yeah. I don't
Yeah,
yeah.
you have to be a little insane to do certain things. Like, I mean, I also think even like writing a book, for example, is kind of like
Yeah.
insane. The amount of time it takes, especially if you really go through line by line and shit. Like,
I think that part is just like the amount of like details that you have to hold, like would stress me out. I think that part is like the project seems so big, like that to me. I think that I get paralysis. I feel like when I don't know where to start, and then I'm like some sort of perfectionism maybe, and then I'm just like fuck it, I wouldn't even do it.
Yeah. You know what's interesting?
Yeah.
I interviewed a ghostwriter like a few weeks ago, and I think I might have told you guys about her. She does like memoirs. So she'll like
Mm.
she's the kind of ghostwriter that like a celebrity would hire to like write their book. Um, and I asked her the opening question that I got her to like write down her answer to was, what is the most you've ever earned from a ghostwriting project? And her answer was $252,000. And she said it was just a really long process. Like this person was like really particular about what they wanted. They knew like exactly when they wanted the book to come out. And she just said like people, unless you're like in that craft of writing a book, you really can't appreciate like how much work it takes to write a really fucking good book. And she said being a ghostwriter, you're almost under even more pressure to get it right because you're representing somebody else's voice.
Yeah.
Ghostwriting is harder than writing your own book, because there is another element and there's another variable where it's like I I can just use my own brain if I want to say something a certain way, and if I want to take even a risk on a certain sentence, if I want to say like I want to like cuss or something and use the F word in my own book, I can do that. But like with ghostwriting, you have to check, is this what this founder really believes? Like he did actually say that on the call, but this walks that fine line where it's like, I don't know if he really wants this out there in the public. It's like, should I actually wrap back around and ask him about this? So I mean, you learn little tricks too. Like as you ask a question and they answer it, then you might be like, now you probably wouldn't want to say it that way on social media though, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, because the thing is, like, the slightly risque stuff is good because it shows people that you're a real person, and people connect with it more because you know we're not so different, you and I, and if you speak like off the cuff, people connect with that, right? But
Yeah.
yeah,
I totally get that. When I was a marketing director, I had a hard time because the people I worked with, the software company, were very conservative, and I was always like, "Where do I like? Where's the electric fence? And am I touching it? Am I not?" Like, it was always like hard to like, because I'm more like, I take more risk to my own shit. So I think I'm more like you, Mike. I don't really give a fuck. Like if I don't have anyone attached to me and no one could fire me, I'm like I don't really give a shit. I'll say something crazy and I don't really care if someone comes. I actually said something yesterday. You probably saw that post, Mike, and someone came at me all sideways trying to like fight with me and shit about like I said I had a post and Claude kind of wrote it or whatever, but I did like look at it and see what I wrote or whatever. But it was basically essentially about like people a lot everyone. It was something to the effect of everyone's using AI essentially in their writing, but everyone's acting like they're not. Although what I'm realizing is there are people that don't use it at all too. So I think that I kind of like I angled it to like say that everyone uses it, and I pissed off people that don't use it. But I said something in the thing like, oh, like you're gonna be like smoking a joint and like in one hand and like a glass of wine on the other hand on a cliff or whatever, thinking with your pure thoughts. And this dude like came at me like all like you shouldn't be encouraging like AI slop. Da, 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 da. But I was laughing because I actually was probably inspired by you, Mike, for all the fun shit that you do. It was supposed to be just like a joke, and people were like coming at me like sideways. So I haven't even actually gone back.
there you go, man. That's it. You just like cracked the code. You just learned my little trick that I've been
Yeah.
using basically. But it goes to show you can use it both ways. Like you can do the pro AI slop satire. Not that you were saying like, not that you were encouraging people. Yeah, let's all post AI slop. I know what you were doing with that. You were saying a lot of people are actually lying about their AI usage, and there's only a very small amount of people out there who are really truly never using it at all, and they're sitting on top of a mountaintop smoking with Gandalf. Right? Yeah.
I was dying though too because like I felt bad because all the people that were actually like commenting on it were people that actually probably don't use AI that much. and like that actually felt really awkward for me because I was like, that's not really what I meant, but fuck it.
Yeah.
I just think I think it's funny when people choose to like get offended by a post. Like it's fun when somebody like actually like presents you with another point. Like, hey, I actually disagree for this reason, and it's like a productive conversation of like, here's a point you might not have seen. But when people like get riled up and get offended, I always just find it funny because I think when people get offended by a post, it says way more about them than what it says about the post that you wrote. What did you say
Yeah.
here, Mike? Cheat
Really?
code on who to connect with on LinkedIn. Next topic. Is that a topic you want to talk about, Mike?
Yeah. I'm now, I don't know. I'm just like writing myself notes in the chat now.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right.
I always how do you deal with the conflict though, Mike? Because I notice it with my own self when I get conflict, I just kind of just want to disappear for a while and then come back in like a day or whatever. And I know it's not right, but I don't really fucking want to sit there and like I just kind of want like the thing to settle down and then come back to it later when like I'm like more clear headed.
Oh, yeah, that can be important. Oh, and by the way, when I said I'm leaving myself notes in the comments there, I'm talking about like that is a topic I do want to talk about. But anyway, yeah, if you get like a really hot-headed person in your comment section, I do think like a lot of the time it is best to not respond to them. Like let's think about it too. Like who is it usually? It's usually someone who's also like anonymous as well, right? I once picked on anonymous people here on Substack, and they really came at me hard. They didn't like that.
Oh, I remember that. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. But there's a lot of truth to it because here's the thing, right? So you've got a personal brand and you show your face, and then some anonymous person comes along and they can write whatever they want, right? And you now have like you have a reputation to protect, and you're using your actual name and all this, and they can just write the most batshit out of left field shit and pay no consequences for that. So why would you fight someone who's anonymous? Some anonymous troll. It's like, dude, you're not even like brave enough to show your face, which means you can say anything, and you're probably going to attack the lowest things. You're going to tell me like, I don't like your face or something like this. Like, it's going to be something stupid. Like they're going to be attacking like your
something personal
face, something else that has nothing to do with your actual point as well. So yeah, there are people that are not worth arguing with or even getting into it with. If someone actually makes like an interesting point, but they are being kind of critical in a way, then maybe it's worth getting into discussion, right? A different point of view is one thing. Coming at you with like aggression and shit and like insulting you right off the bat, like probably not even worth getting into it. And that'll drive them crazy if you don't get into it.
You know what I think? I've actually kind of changed my stance on this recently because in that YouTube program I'm doing, they kind of gave us a bit of a different perspective. They're like, I want you guys to think about trolls differently now because especially when it comes to YouTube content, this is even more prevalent. Because in order for somebody to leave, let's say like a hateful comment on your post, statistically, they took about 7 actions to get to that point. So not only did they see your content, not only did they click on it, not only did they take the time to consume your content, they actually took the time to consume it to the point that they formed an opinion about it. And then they actually took action to take the time to type out their response and be like, I'm going to share this opinion. So the way that this coach framed it was like, you should actually thank that person. So if somebody leaves like a dumbass snarky comment on your post and they're like trying to insult you, now I literally just comment and I'm like, thanks for taking the time to comment on my post. And I just don't say anything else. And the people who give a good comment, like something that's like thoughtful or, encouraging or like they present a different perspective, like they actually add value to the post, I will give those people more thoughtful responses. But somebody who's just being a dick, I'm just like, thanks for taking the time to comment. Yeah. And nothing else.
I saw you do that yesterday, actually.
Yeah. I made a post Oh man, this was interesting. I made a post on Substack because I was on a call the other day and I asked a guy like, how are you? And he's like, good. And then nothing. And I was like, it fucking weirds me out when people don't reciprocate that question.
It wasn't me, right? Was it me?
No. It wasn't you. No. It was the guy I was on a sales call with. It just always
So
feels so
awkward.
weird to me. But a bunch of people were so I made a post on Substack and I was like, people who respond with like good, but when you ask them how they are, but they don't ask it back, kind of weird me out sometimes.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of people were commenting, and like some people seemed like they were kind of offended, and some people were like, well, different cultures have different norms and all this stuff. And like people were making some good points, but there is like one or two people that made comments that just like didn't really make sense. I could tell there was like a negative tone to them. So I was just like, thanks for taking the time to comment on my post.
To me, I think that Cialdini, that influence book and the law of reciprocation, like most people will like reciprocate if they're like people probably that you want to work with. There's something in that book too where like someone mails like a Christmas card to some family for like 10 years and the person that didn't know this family, it was a mistake, and they would mail it back. So like I think that like I don't know, people that don't like engage like that, I feel like they're a little bit awkward and like there's something off with them. And I don't know, like I don't. To me, it's a sign, but maybe my calibration is different. I know Mike always kind of tells me where I'm a little off too. Sometimes with like certain things with sales.
Yeah, so I almost commented on your post yesterday. I actually did comment. I deleted my comment because I saw the rest of your comments. I'm like, this comment section is a minefield. This is a war zone, and this is so random because all you were saying, they took it way out of context, right? And then they took it out of context, and then they ran into left field like little weirdos. Like
weird.
They're like, yeah, well, you don't know what I'm like, and maybe I might be having a bad day, and like maybe I'm in a season of deep depression, and like it's like,
oh god,
dude, she's talking about like when you're on a fucking Zoom call and you say, so how's it going, and a person who is like not all like, and just a person's like, good, and it's just like, and there's like, it's just radio silence.
Yeah.
Clearly what she's talking about here. And you just decided to like completely misinterpret it. And yeah.
You're like, no,
that's really fun. I see that all the time. They just
it's
run
fun to
into
watch.
that field. They take it somewhere else.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about like when someone says, how are you doing? And then someone either they just give you like the American Canadian version, like really good, or they actually go into like, oh, I'm doing really shitty. And then they kind of go off on a tangent.
I mean, yeah, people, that doesn't happen too often. Every once in a while, somebody will like open a can of worms. Then you're like, holy fuck, I wasn't expecting to jump into this right away. Sometimes you're like taken aback, but like, I mean, if somebody just like was like, actually, I'm not doing that great. Like, this is what I'm dealing with. Like, I mean, I'll have a conversation with them. Like, if you ask somebody, how are you doing? It should be like a genuine question, not just like a pleasantry of like, oh, sorry, I didn't actually give a fuck. I was just asking you to be polite. Like, if you ask the question, you're opening the door for them to give you an answer. It's more so what Mike said. Like, it's you don't know how to respond when somebody's just like, good, and then like doesn't reciprocate it, doesn't elaborate. You're like, okay, man, that's great.
You know what I
Moving
didn't
on,
like?
I guess.
You know what I didn't like is that they also assumed that when you ask that question, that it is just some sort of like placeholder question. Because they tried to say, so many people tried to say like, oh, it's just a generic question. Like you're not actually looking for the answer. Fuck you. Maybe I am looking for the fucking answer. Maybe I actually do want to fucking know how the fuck you are. When I ask how are you, it's not just a placeholder thing. It's because we're doing that thing that people do called fucking small talk. How else do you want me to fucking start a conversation? Hey, what color underwear are you wearing? Ma'am?
Maybe you should.
Like what the fuck? You want me to come out left field and so like what kind of mental disorders do you have, bro? Like, hey, you take any prescription medication?
Yeah,
hey,
what medications
have you thought
are
about
you
losing weight, you fat fuck? Like, what do you want me to, like, how do you want me to fucking start a conversation? Like, What the fuck?
Holy shit, that was funny. Yeah. Oh
Back in
man.
Canada.
Or yeah, if you're dating someone or you're trying to go on a date, you're like, you're really beautiful. They're like, thank you. You're like, oh, guess that didn't land very well.
Yeah. Holy shit. That
That's why I
was so
stay at home.
funny.
Don't go out.
What color are your underwear?
Like
Like,
LinkedIn,
yeah.
shit like that.
Oh.
Holy shit, that's so good.
On
All
a
right, Mike,
real
what
note, I did say something about connections on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Cheat code on who to connect with on LinkedIn is the next topic. Let's do it.
Yeah. So like one of the things I did on LinkedIn that was kind of like a little counterintuitive that ended up working out really well was connecting with a bunch of ghostwriters.
Oh, interesting.
So like you can constantly go after your ICP, but the problem is, like if you're my ICP probably engages with people's posts less, right? Because I go for founders and CEOs and stuff like that, right? So these are not the people who like and comment on your stuff. But my engagement right now is through the roof, and by adding ghostwriters, who are people who are in the same field, more likely to engage, it seems to have done something well also in the algorithm. Like I don't even think it's just the fact that I'm posting more satirical, entertainment type content. It is definitely part of it, but I noticed that there's a lot of like also support and even pushback a little bit from other writers, and it's definitely come from adding ghostwriters into the mix. So the cheat code there is don't just go after your ICP. And the interesting thing is, when I was first building my brand on LinkedIn, I had that same approach where I was adding a lot of the same people in the same niche, other writers, people, other creators, that kind of thing. And that's like really important. You kind of need that as a base. And they will also end up helping you push your stuff out to that wider market of people who are your ICP. See, I don't think you can have the sky high engagement and stuff by only going after your ICP, unless maybe you have an ICP that's super active on the platform and actually engages and stuff. But like the two can help you out. So add some people from your actual industry as connections. So like if you're a hub, you would add other people who do like build AI solutions for people, which is pretty counterintuitive because you think, why do I want to help out my competition?
It just reminded me of Ahad, actually, because I know he does like vibe coding. There's this whole thing in like the markets right now where Salesforce went down like 30% over a year because there's this thing called SaaS apocalypse, and they're saying that like a narrative was basically going on saying that AI is going to destroy Salesforce, all these SaaS companies, subscription moats. So it's really interesting how like this stuff kind of comes up, and it also I think it's interesting the way narratives travel really fast. There was actually someone that won like a Nobel, or he won some sort of prize essentially for his work on like how quickly narratives spread and how even Adobe stock crashed because of this thing. So it reminded me of what we do though, because like controlling this narrative and controlling the way we want people to react to things, it's crazy how quickly people will do stuff like, I guess, through like they'll do things that are like kind of more fundamental things, but they'll also just be like, oh, they'll remember the story behind why something works, the framework or heuristic, that type of thing, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting because I remember like when I was actively focusing on growing on LinkedIn, I remember getting to a point where I was like, I don't want to connect with any more ghostwriters. Like I started to feel like my feed was getting full of ghostwriters, and I had that exact thought. I was like, I feel like I'm just filling my feed with like, more or less my competition. But yeah, that makes sense that like you probably don't want to only connect with your ICP. It's probably beneficial to connect with people who also connect with your ICP.
Yeah, and something I did as well, and this was almost accidental. But I think I knew that by going with ghostwriters. Well, what I ended up basically doing is not everybody who calls himself a ghostwriter is a social media ghostwriter. Of course, the term like ghostwriter is very old, and it's also people who write books or any type of writing, right? Books, articles. Like it only became like Twitter posts and LinkedIn posts probably within the last maybe 5 years or something like that. Of course, people have been doing online marketing for people for a while, but ghostwriter, they weren't using the term like social media ghostwriter or ghostwriter for that. So I've actually added a lot of like traditional ghostwriters, people who write books and stuff, and that's been a really interesting audience for me to connect with, and it happens to make a lot of sense because of the fact that I'm writing a book too. So like these could be people who are pretty connected in that actual publishing space as well. So, and there's more groups like that as well. Like literary agents could be another one that maybe I add a bunch of literary agents.
When you have people that are pushing back on you that are other writers, do you get into it with them, or do you kind of just let it go out of curiosity?
Yeah. So earlier I said a lot of times it's not worth getting into it. Well, I partially was doing that too because it's like, do what I say, don't do what I do. Okay. Because sometimes I do push back against them. Yeah. It's especially when someone's like really out of left field, not very based at all, and they're just like really lobbing it over the plate for me. It's like you've come to the wrong page, buddy. I'm about to lay you out verbally. Yeah,
I'm gonna abuse you.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There's times where I actually feel like people deserve to be punished for their some of the
I agree.
stupid comments they leave.
It's so funny.
Yeah. So sometimes I do, and the thing is too. Kelsey's mentor in the YouTube program is correct. Like, yeah, you almost should thank them because they are boosting your engagement. And like to add to that, like if somebody leaves a comment or whatever, like you don't want to get too invested in it. You don't want to get like emotionally invested in it. So it's a very it's like there's an art to this of like responding but not being emotionally invested. But if you do respond to them, like you'll probably rile them up again. They probably will come back. They probably will comment again.
You see the pigeons
boosting the hell out of engagement. So you can use it to your advantage. By the way, you can milk a post out and just like send it to the moon by responding to trolls.
I know that you
for sure.
really like LinkedIn, Kelsey, but like, are you guys like even more bored with LinkedIn than ever now? Because I feel like I have such a hard time even just like going on the platform lately. I don't know what
Honestly,
it is. If I'm a funk
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Jer.
No, I was just saying, I don't know if I'm in a funk or if whatever, but I had to take a little bit of a break from it.
Yeah, I haven't been on LinkedIn as much lately. Honestly, like one of my favorite parts of going on LinkedIn lately is seeing your post, Mike. Because they're just like, every time I see you have a post that pops off and then it's something like funny or real, I'm like, fuck yeah, it's cool to see that content like performs there. Because I still go on LinkedIn frequently because I feel like I connect with a lot of people who end up being like interview clients and stuff on there. But the content definitely doesn't pull me in as much. But I agree with what you said, Mike, that I think there's actually like a strategy to engaging with the people who write just like crazy shit on your posts, like asking them to elaborate and stuff. Because if they say something like, for example, I had somebody who commented on one of my YouTube videos and said, this video is 100% AI. And I was like, the fuck? And then it got like this whole heated thread going because then there were people commenting who knew me and they're like, this video is definitely not AI. Kelsey does these videos. And then there were other people commenting and they're like, yeah, this is totally AI. You can tell because like she's hyper realistic and like her background is obviously like some weird filter. And it was like, I had that like kind of purpley curtain as my background for my interviews for the longest time.
Mhm.
And I was like, first of all, I'm taking it as a compliment that you think that I'm hyper realistic. I'm just gonna take that as a good thing. But it was so funny, like just this one comment of somebody saying this is 100% AI just sparked all these people like debating what they thought. So I think if like it's not a bad thing. And then
I mean,
like, but I saw people, some people were like, I think like thinking they were coming to my defense and they were like insulting this person. They're like, you're a fucking idiot if you think that this is AI. And I was honestly like, no, he's not. I was like, guys, I'm thankful for this guy for writing this comment because look how many people engage with it. Like, you don't need to insult him. Like, I would rather engage with it and get more people engaging. And then that person ended up like coming back like 2 weeks later and was like, oh well, I my comments sparked a lot of comments, so you're welcome. I was like, fuck yeah, man, thanks.
yeah. Yeah, it's something like that. Like, it would be actually just hilarious to be like, yeah, you got me. I'm AI. Like, yeah, I'm a bot. Like, where they going to go after that? Like, yeah. See, I told you.
Yeah,
Fucking,
yeah, you got me, man. I've been AI this whole time, fooling everyone.
yeah, since 2017, when nobody was using AI.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, like Ahad's talking here about like how like he's a coder, but he's vibe coding, right? Actually, that's interesting because that is a polarizing position to be in. To actually be like, 100% like cool and like confident about like, yeah, like I'm vibe coding this while being a coder. It's sort of like an agnostic sort of approach, like not being a complete like purist or whatever. And like, yeah, the purists would be 100%
Writing their own code.
here for that. Kind of like similar to your post, Jeremy.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like to me, it's like if someone's already written like the code or the Lego block, I don't fucking care about making the Lego. I'm just gonna make the house with the Legos. Like, I don't know. Like to me, it's kind of the same thing.
I honestly don't even know what vibe coding means. I've heard that term a bunch of times, and it's one of those things that I'm like, I'm not gonna lie, man, I have no fucking idea what that means.
You
Yeah, I
could
think
you could do like for example, like I was building a Squarespace site the other day, and I just said like write me the HTML code for this specific page, and it drops the HTML code, and I just inject the HTML into the site, and it literally just builds it for me. So like
So it's like using
vibe code,
AI to code.
yeah. So Claude knows how to code essentially,
Yeah.
and you could just say like I need to this API to do this thing or whatever. You just tell it what you want. Build me this app, help me build this thing, and it'll help you figure out how to build it. Whereas before, I think that like maybe I think that there's different libraries and different things and that were already there, but I just think that people will get mad because they think that like you need to reinvent the wheel. And to me, you don't need to fucking reinvent the wheel. If something's already built, use the building blocks for what's built to assemble whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah. I mean there's so many like realms where we could get into this, but it just feels like it falls back to that same argument of like the people who are really trying to take a stand against AI and who will like try to shame you for not being like a purist of your craft. It's like, "Oh, you're using AI to do your craft, like you're lesser than in some way." But I just think that I mean, I'm always interested to hear people's stances on this, but I think if there's this crazy tool out there that's helping people advance and you're just stubbornly refusing not to use it, and then not only that, but you're actively trying to shame people who are using it because now their craft isn't like pure according to your standards. I just think that stubbornness is going to end up biting you in the ass. Because, like, I actually have a friend who has, like, worked her way up in her corporate role and now she, like, heads the whole financial department. And their company's pretty big, like, Canada wide. And they just did a round of layoffs. And a bunch of the people who got laid off were, like, older generations who, like, just refused to use AI. And they're like, our data shows that you are getting less work done, your shit's not getting done as fast, it's not as good, and you're refusing to be with the times. Like, we don't expect people to use AI in their entire role. They're not like replacing people with AI, but they're like, if there's this tool that's helping everybody else in the company get their shit done faster and you're just stubbornly refusing to use it, that's going to be a disadvantage to you. And when a big company does layoffs, if your output is less than the people around you who are making the same money, I mean, you're kind of just like laying your head down on the chopping block.
That's what Elon did when he bought X. He looked at basically everything, every engineer that had code written, and a lot of them weren't writing code. So he like basically looked to see how much they were actually writing, what they're contributing. And if they're not actually contributing to the code base, he just basically got rid of like a big portion of the engineers that weren't doing anything. So I think that a lot of companies are doing this, and I don't think people give a shit how the product is done. Like, no one gives a shit how like a Tesla's made. They just care that it fucking works. It drives.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Ahad used the example of the calculator, which is what I thought of when you were talking about vibe coding. He said it's like an accountant using a calculator to work and a mathematician making fun of them for it or something. That's like the perfect example. Or like when the internet was booming and then you get people that are like just stubborn, they're like, I refuse to use it. You're lesser at this craft because you're using it. It's like, I mean, sure, but if I can get the same result as you in half the time, I'm probably going to be more valuable in this marketplace. So if you want to like stick to your ethics on this, then like you can do that, but then you only have yourself to blame if you get cut for that role.
Yeah, I probably have the most sort of in between take on this one, because like I do actually really understand like where the purists are sometimes coming from. But I've probably said this before. I've used AI probably as much as some of the people who are like completely, or who are deep into it. Not as deep as Ahad, nowhere near that. But like people who are pretty pro AI. I've used AI as much as them, but like, you know, I probably have beliefs that are actually a little more rooted to like somebody on LinkedIn. Like I can think of a guy on LinkedIn, this guy, Mike Rosenberg. You might have seen some of his stuff. Like he's pretty like anti-AI. Like I'm almost closer to that just because I kind of understand where all this could go. And like what you guys were even describing there, right? You're talking about like Elon Musk and this, right? Like Elon Musk is not a good guy. I understand. He's basically just Bill Gates with memes. Like he's not a good guy. All the companies, like some of the companies he's involved in are they don't have like a good long term. It's not going to be good for humanity, in my opinion, right? So like advancement, and then like it's all about like hyper optimization and stuff like this. And like, okay, so firing people, for example, because they won't use an AI tool, that's a tough one. I mean, like a company who's doing that is probably, you know, a tech company or a company that wants to advance. So like they are allowed to do that because then that person is not in alignment with their company. So it's like, is everyone just going to be forced to use these tools? Yeah, it becomes very tough. I don't think it's actually as simple though as I don't think it's like a calculator. I don't think it's like just a typewriter. I don't think it's just like a hammer. I think it's a lot bigger than that. Like let's give it credit. It's a lot bigger than that. I mean, you can literally create videos out of thin air. I mean, it's not out of thin air. Actually, it's pulling from all of these like resources and stuff that it was trained on. So it's a lot bigger than a calculator. It's bigger than just going from, well, okay, horse and buggy to the car was actually that's a pretty big leap. So yes, yeah, and another thing, like another argument that comes up a lot is that, with technological advancement, things have kind of just always gotten like better. I think a lot of people like to say that, but that's actually not true. Things have not just gotten progressively better. And with all this technological advancement, some things have actually gotten worse. For example, I don't like when I see an 8-year-old kid or something with a smartphone glued to their fucking screen. You know what I mean? When I was a kid, we used to fucking ride bikes outside and climb trees and shit like that. So have things really gotten completely better across the board? Has the school system gotten better? Are there more jobs and opportunities for people? Did we go from having like a tax rate of 2% back in the day to like now, if you looked at all the different taxes for people are probably being taxed somewhere between 30 and 60% of their income. If you look at every single thing that they're taxed on, sales tax, debt tax, this fee, that fee, income tax, federal tax, like have things really gotten better across the board? No, I don't think so. So technological advancement, by the way, allows some of the people who don't have your best interest in mind to streamline their operations and be better organized so they can fuck you and screw you over better. So I'm not just down for the blind advancement of society. I think we actually need to hold on to some of our roots more, because I think we've actually been doing a really bad job at that.
Yeah, I feel like we live in a world now where speed is rewarded and people are all concerned about like how can we get this done like quick and dirty and how can we get it done as cheap as possible. So it's not surprising to me at all the way things are shifting and how people are favoring AI. And like I see the appeal as a business owner, because like I've mentioned to you guys, like we're kind of looking at like how to expand our offer and how to, instead of just interviewing somebody and cutting their clips and giving them to them, how do we like make it even more valuable for them and maybe actually handle the writing the posts and the posting for them. And there's logistics that come with that. And that's been like a topic of discussion is like, okay, well, do we bring other people in and like get a copywriter, get somebody to handle the posting and like, the analytics and like looking at what's working and what's not working? Or do we find a way to automate that with AI? Like we actually had this conversation, and there's huge appeal as a business owner to do it in a way that's automated and cheap. But I also care a lot about quality. And I think we can all probably agree that like AI is just not where like a great ghostwriter who actually cares is going to be. But I think that's the key there too, is like somebody who has the skill, but somebody who also gives a fuck about like how are my posts actually performing? Like if I am on this team and I'm writing a bunch of posts for this client, are they actually doing good? And maybe in the near future there'll be a way to use AI to figure that out, like, objectively pulling analytics or something. But that's been on my mind, because I'm like, I see why business owners are leaning this way, because if they can get it done seamlessly without the room for human error, without having to like deal with more people or like manage more people, and without the cost of like bringing on another person and then that dipping into their profits, I completely understand why so many business owners are doing it. But it just kind of comes down to like, for us, it's like, okay, but how do we want this done? Like there's a certain level of quality, and we also want to bring somebody on who's going to actually fucking care about the results and like care about the delivery. And if that person can add to it, like make the process better, then okay, well, do we just raise our prices then to factor in paying that person? Because I don't want to be the business owner that's always looking for a way to like, how do we just get people out of this and just use AI? Like I don't feel like that's aligned with my values as a business owner.
Yeah, that kind of reminded me of something where, yeah, are you for, well, actually, I shouldn't say the name of the program. Uh, there's a program, and they used to kind of just be sort of like they used to focus on a lot on like client acquisition and cold email, and they do really focus on that still, because I mean that's like one of the most important things in an agency is you need leads and you need clients, right? Otherwise you don't have a business. So, but now they've kind of gone with a more, it's like they're providing the model more for their prospects or clients to join the program. So one of the business models they've recommended for people is actually ghostwriting. And they're like, yeah, do ghostwriting because ghostwriting is easy. Ghostwriting is easy, and you can actually just write like 80%. You can get like 80% or 90 or 80% of the job done with AI and stuff. You know, just like Claude and this and that. You can just like write the content with Claude. And what they're also doing too, and I know why they would do this because it goes hand in hand with the way they're pushing this, is that they're not recommending people sell it for like high ticket prices. They're actually recommending that people sell ghostwriting if it's kind of like, you know, your basic ghostwriting. Okay, you got 20 LinkedIn posts a month, whatever. They're kind of recommending people sell it for more like $1,000 or something. Or like, I think my buddy even told me that they're kind of like, it's kind of like between a range of like $500 and like 1,500 or something, right? Sell ghostwriting for that and do it with AI, but stack more clients, right? And they're kind of like, and they're running this as like the business model or like a biz op for even people who are actually still in a 9 to 5, right? And it's like, come join our program. We'll give you the whole blueprint. Do something like ghostwriting. It's easy to deliver. You just do it all with AI, charge 500 to 1,500, stack 20 clients. It's like all automated for you. But there's a big thing that they're not telling people is that you're going to have, well, because they're charging so low, some clients won't churn. Because if you're charging $500 a month, yes, you will have some people who stay with you for like 2 years, right? Because you're so much cheaper than everybody else in the market. Or even $1,000, you'll have people like stay with you for a very long time. Some of them because of that, but there will be clients who are just really pissed off with the quality of the work and all this because. So like, yeah, you can write it with AI, but like you're gonna have to go in and like revitalize it and humanize it, and like there's gonna be so many things you do need to change. Yeah, you can use AI in the ghostwriting process, but I know this from experience. You're gonna have, it might get you 50-60% of the way there, and then to really get a good post, you're gonna have to go in and meticulously edit and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I like that might work for some people, and I'm not learning the model that way, so like I can't really speak to it. In my business experience, I found that like if I have a certain income goal that I want to make, if my goal is like consistent 20K months, for example, I have learned that I 100% would rather have less clients to get there. Because I think people are really, they get really drawn to this idea of like having, a simple service that's cheap and then you can have a bunch of clients, but people don't recognize until they're in that having more clients, unless your service is like completely automated, like unless you have like a SaaS service that takes like next to none of your time and it's just like running smoothly. I've seen people grow businesses both ways, and the business model that relies on you having more clients to hit your income goal is almost always going to be more of a headache. Because you're going to have more churn, you have more customer service opportunities to have to deal with. You just have more people on your plate to make sure that they're being happy. And yeah, you're right, Mike, like at a lower price, you might see less churn because people aren't like nitpicking that investment every month if it's not like massively dipping into their profit. So like, sure, if you charge somebody 500 a month for ghostwriting instead of 3,000, they might just kind of leave you alone. But I also, like, my second point to that is I have also kind of adopted the belief that like regardless of how much your service is, I think if you can't show people some kind of results after a few months, then churn is going to be expected. So like, you'll see people on Fiverr offering to do social media management for like 400 or 500 bucks a month. But even if you're only charging somebody 400 or 500 bucks a month, if they pay you for, let's say, like 6 months, and then they're like, hey, my account hasn't really grown, I'm not really getting any more web traffic. I definitely haven't gotten any leads from this content. It doesn't matter that you're doing it for cheap. Like, if you can't show people some kind of ROI, they probably are going to churn eventually. I mean, yeah, there might be some businesses out there that just like pay for presence. Like, there's definitely, you know, government organizations and stuff that will pay just to be visible because they're expected to be visible. But in my experience, most business owners are paying for things like social media content because they want some kind of result out of it. So regardless of what you're charging them, if you never can prove that you're getting them at least closer to that result, they will churn. And so if your whole mentality is like, I'm just going to charge less and take on more clients, I mean, what's the likelihood that you're actually going to get results for all those clients? Personally, I would rather have fewer clients who are paying me more, who I'm actually like invested in, like, how's their fucking content doing? How's the web traffic this month? Like, what's their impressions at? Is the engagement good? Are things like climbing or descending? And if you have 20 ghostwriting clients, you're not going to be doing that for all of them. And if you are, it's probably going to become a business that you don't really want to run.
Yeah, I also feel like it depends on the business too, because like I think we've talked about this before, like performance marketing versus like brand and content. Like you could be if like you have like some sort of like my ex did this thing where she would tattoo people's heads to like make like a hairline or whatever, or like bald people or whatever. And like her business was like an account would be like 10 grand that she would close. So like for me, I set up Google AdWords and bid on very specific keywords for people that were Googling scalp micropigmentation Portland, Oregon, and I bid on that specific word. And if she spent like $1,000 a month or whatever, and she got like 3 or 4 leads, closed 1 or 2, like you spent 1,000, you made 20K or whatever, that made sense. Whereas like content in that particular thing, it makes sense to do on the long haul. But like if you have ad money and you have a high enough product, that kind of makes more sense there. So I think it kind of just depends on the situation. And historically, content's been extremely hard to tie back attribution. Like it's not like you could say, oh, this one video made him call me or whatever, or these people. I think that that's going to be a hard problem to solve too. Like, and I also find that like the people that are cheap usually are not good clients. They're
Yeah.
more nitpicky. Usually the people that are higher end already have money. They're not like they've already bought into content. They've already bought into the fact that like they know they need a brand and it'll accelerate sales somehow. So I think it just really depends on the person and like and just finding the right people that are fit. But in general, content's a hard business because like anytime you're dealing with people, you're gonna have like different people have different expectations. But I find in my own personal experience, I find that people on the higher end side are actually easier than the people that are on the lower end side for some reason.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think if you price your services lower, you are going to attract people who value like discounts and lower price
Cheap
services, and that's just a nice way of saying cheap, I guess. Um,
commodity.
oh, you said something there, Jared, that I was going to add to, but it'll come back to me if it's important.
Yeah, Dakota used to always say that like people don't value cheap, and they really don't. Like I don't know why. Like even if like I don't know, you can get a haircut for like $20 or get a haircut for like $300, right? And it could be like somewhat of a similar haircut, but at the end of it, you might feel better because like I don't know. It's like one of those things where people like the value that we place on certain things is kind of just becomes like the way you sell it. I feel like.
Yeah, and I think too, like for example, that client that I told you guys about last week, who like wants a bit more than what we typically offer. Like we're kind of looking at, okay, well we're probably going to charge him like we're going to pitch him a pretty large amount because we want to be able to like bring in a
Cover.
copywriter and like handle more of it for him and do it well. And the nice thing is that on that first meeting with him, he was talking about the last Instagram people he'd brought on and how like they were just kind of doing a not so great job. Like the content wasn't good. They were doing like weird automated kind of spammy DMs to people. So now he has that experience of like what he doesn't want. And I'm assuming those people probably didn't charge a whole lot just based on what I thought they were putting out. But I lost my point again. Oh well.
I'm curious. Yeah, that's a good one though that you got, and I think we talked a little bit about that last time too. But I think it's cool that your free video became like a lead magnet almost. Like so, like
Yeah.
that's something definitely there. I was actually going through follow ups this week with like people that I've hit up in the past, I probably had like 6 or 7 people that were like, "Hey, like I'm interested in this." What I was doing is I was actually like pitching them a specific video. So I would go on their site and be like, "Hey, like I saw that you like like remodeled this apartment building like a year ago. Have you thought about making a video on that?" And like I think that it works really well because it's just like I'm reflecting something back to them that they've already done in their self, and it's just kind of like, "Hey, have you thought about this?" And a lot of the times they're like, "I haven't, but I think that's a great idea." And to me, I think that my struggle is I could actually get people pretty interested and like into the funnel, but I have a hard time being like, all right, from the free video to like the pitch, I always feel like a little awkward. Like I don't know why. I just don't like being salesy, and it's my own bullshit in my head that I need to get over. I need to get a little bit better at that, but I need a better way. And I'd love to ask you guys that, like, what's a better way to transition from like, hey, here's the free video to like, hey, like here's the pitch or whatever. Because you did it with that guy. With that guy, I remember you're like, hey, I by the way, we do this or whatever. But I always feel like that little part. I always feel like awkward because I'd rather them chase me than me chase them type of thing. But even though I'm the one that already reached out.
Yeah, but if they don't know that you offer that, you can't expect them to chase you.
For sure. Yeah. It's my own fucking, yeah, 100%.
Do you ask them like, "Hey, John, how'd you like the video?" Or what? How do you transition there?
Yeah. I would say that, yeah, I do go, what I was doing in the past was I was like, hey, like I would try to schedule the call to like reveal the video and like watch them watch it and then kind of talk about it like after. Like that was kind of like the process initially, but I'm just kind of getting back into it again.
Okay, watching them watch the video, I get it, but
Yeah.
I feel like I just don't know if I would do it that way. I don't know if I want to like watch them watching the video. Like
Right.
Mhm.
I think I'd give them their own time and like schedule a call with them like once they've watched it to be like kind of yeah like great. So yeah, what do you think of the video? How were you able to use it on your page? What kind of like results did you get with it? Right. And then transition into like, would you want, if we can do 12 of these for you per month, do you see value in something like that? Right. It would be something like that, I think.
Makes
Yeah,
sense.
what I've been doing, I agree with Mike. I think getting them on a call to watch the video, like, and you sitting there watching them while they watch it, probably to some people could feel like pressure to them.
Awkward.
Like, yeah. And then also it probably makes it feel awkward for you in that same interaction to be like, okay, I'm going to pitch them now. What I
Yeah.
have been doing, and not that I'm saying this is like right or wrong, I've just found it's been working for me, is I do the free interview and then I usually touch base with them after, or sometimes they'll message me right after and be like, thanks, that was so much fun, whatever. And then when I like have the stuff to send them, I'll like message them and I basically like kind of bombard people with like all the shit I give them from it. Like I'm like, hey, I'm gonna post the YouTube video today. I've tagged you as a collaborator, so like if you want it to go out to your followers, then use this link. It's totally cool if you don't. Also, like when I write a newsletter about it, I'm like, here's the newsletter I wrote about you. I mentioned your business in it, and then they're usually like stoked about that and I send them a Google Drive. I'm like, this is where I'm going to put all the raw footage. You're welcome to use any of it. Like if your team wants to cut it up, like it's all yours. Also, like any clips that I cut from it, I'm happy to tag you in and like you're welcome to use any of those. So I try to get them to the point where they're literally saying like thank you. And it's like I think I learned this in the influence book of like if you can get people to a point where they're saying thank you, then that's like the best time to be like, "Oh, by the way, I actually do this for clients." So I don't even get into the specifics of how it works. I'm just like I send them their shit. I get them to the point where like they've said thank you probably several times because I've just like given them all these free assets. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to like put this out into the universe so this person knows that this exists. Like knows that doing this for their business is an option. And I kind of just leave it at that. I'm like, by the way, like I actually do this for clients. Like we do a whole interview about your business. So, and then I've been kind of testing like playing it off like, if you happen to know anybody. So I don't always even like direct it at them. Sometimes I'm like, if you happen to know any business owners that you think would like want to be interviewed, then like I actually do this for clients. And then
Smart.
sometimes people are like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm interested, you know? So I
That's smart.
don't even see it as like, I'm going to pitch them. I'm like, I'm going to make sure that this person knows that this offer exists and just leave it in their hands.
I was slightly, that is genius. That totally works. And I actually do that as well. I've just never really thought about it that way. But it's like, I almost like how you refer to it almost as bombardment, but like it's like, yeah, when you've got the goods, right? When you've got the package ready to deliver, okay. When you deliver it, so I'm going to slightly change my answer because I was saying that you should like give them time to watch the video, right? Because how can they make a decision if they haven't watched the video? Well, so like here's actually the nuance to it is when you deliver the video, it should be like, hey Dave, we got your video ready, edited. It's 48 seconds long, blah blah blah. We actually went with this hook. See. And these, I'm kind of using her sort of stacking kind of method there, where it's like you talk about all the different things. Yeah, it's like it's about this long. We use this hook. It's this story of yours, and like then there's the actual video. I also have like I don't know the transcript for you, whatever, right? The raw footage, whatever you deliver, and it's like I'll get in this case since they have to watch the video before they would obviously make a decision. Right, unless they were just so gung ho about it, you'd want to say, "I'll give you I'll give you some time to watch the video, but just so you know, like we do this for clients, and then offer your services right there and then, because they're going to watch that video on their own time, but you want to have that pitch already there for them for after they've watched that video, so they can just come right back to that." Right. Because then your next message is after that, like a week or 3 to 5 days later, whatever feels good there is kind of like you might ask them if they got a chance to watch the video yet. Right. Yeah.
And you added so many things there too that were so good for them, Kelsey. Like, because you did like the newsletter, the Google Drive with like the main clip or whatever. So I feel like if it's a normal person, they'll probably reciprocate to some sort of way because it's like you did so much for them that like I think that they'll probably just be like, let me like refer you to my friend, or this is me.
Yeah.
They'll raise their hand. To me, that makes sense, and it's better to me than like. But I also feel like there's something like to be said that what both of you guys said of like just making it clear that there is like, if you're interested in it, there is an offer there or whatever.
Yeah. I don't even think you need to see it as like, oh, I need to pitch this person. I think the way that you view your actions kind of dictates how you feel doing them. So like, I don't ever see it as like, okay, I gave them all their shit. Now I need to pitch them. It's like, okay, they clearly had a good experience. I just like over delivered what I told them I was going to do. They're getting all this shit for free. Now I'm just going to make sure this person knows that this offer exists. And I think, like I said, I've been kind of testing this, like floating it in a way that's like, if you know anybody who would be into this, because then at the least, like I said, you've just like loaded them with stuff. They're saying thank you. At the very, very least, even if they don't think they would use it, you're saying like if you happen to know anybody. So at the very least, they might be like, yeah, I actually do know some people, and then you could get a referral out of them.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, like the more you do this over time, it's not kind of like, okay, yeah, now it's time for me to pitch this person, right? It's more just like, well, I should tell them like what we actually offer here, and it's just this natural kind of progression.
Yeah, for sure.
Referrals.
All right, guys. Want to wrap it
probably
up
a
there?
good time.
Yeah,
probably a good time to cut it. Well, I'll see you guys next Friday. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. See you guys.
Sounds good, guys. Good talk.
Peace.